Today I'm going to turn this into a TicTac aquarium for real animals. But even before I've begun, I have a serious problem. Actually, I have a few. I can't put just any aquatic animal in here. Firstly, because this aquarium will be absolutely tiny. In fact, it's only around 30 mils or 1 ounce in volume. But also, I can't add any kind of water filtration either, because there's simply no space for it. That means I need to find a species which is both really small and also has a super high tolerance for any waste products that will build up in the aquarium over time. This includes toxins like ammonia and nitrates, which come from poop and uneaten food. This rules out pretty much all fish, but not all animals, and I think I found a solution that will fix both of our issues. A species of Anostraka called Artemia salina, better known as sea monkeys. For anybody who doesn't know what they are, sea monkeys are a small prehistoric crustacean that grow to about 1.5 centimeters or half an inch in length. They developed an incredible evolutionary adaptation called cryptobiosis that allows their eggs to remain in a dormant state when dried out. And they can remain desiccated for many decades and then incredibly still hatch from their dried eggs once they're put into warm salty water. This allows the sea monkey eggs to be sold in small kits in toy stores as a quirky first pet for children. The kits usually come with the 3 packets needed to start a sea monkey colony and also a small plastic tank. And even though the tank is only around 350 mils or 12 ounces, it's still plenty big enough for an entire army of sea monkeys to thrive. Sea monkeys can tolerate insanely high toxicity levels too, so the lack of filtration in our TicTac aquarium shouldn't bother them too much. And while their 11 pairs of legs make them very graceful swimmers, they're also very simple animals, so thankfully they're incapable of experiencing the stress that might come from living in a tight space. So here's the plan. I'll set up this sea monkey tank and then transfer a few of the eggs into this TicTac aquarium where I'll attempt to raise them to adulthood. I have a microscope here that will allow us to easily track their growth over the next few weeks, so we can see if this tiny aquarium affects their development in any way. I've also been growing some green microalgae in this container for the last few weeks. Microalgae are microscopic organisms that are basically like single-celled plants. They'll provide oxygen in the tank and help to break down any waste products that accumulate. They're also the primary food source for sea monkeys in their natural habitat, so they'll serve as the perfect food source and hopefully help to make them feel more at home. Now we need to prepare the aquarium, which just means emptying the box and removing this pesky sticker. For anyone who's ever tried removing these pesky stickers before, you'll know they can be really stubborn. I figured out that using a hairdryer helps to easily take it off, but it still leaves behind that sticky residue. I read online that canola oil cooking spray helps to get rid of this stuff, so after leaving it on there to soak for a minute or two, it's fairly easy just to wipe it clean. There's some annoying manufacturing info printed directly on the back here as well. A small amount of rubbing alcohol should work to take that ink right off. Next we need to add in some aquarium decor. Since we're a bit tight on space, I'll need to keep this simple. I'll add in this small plastic aquarium plant and rock for a bit of colour, and a small amount of black sand to form a substrate on the bottom. To finish up, I'll pop the lid back on and add in 30 mils of pre-mixed salt water. And here it is, the TicTac aquarium is now ready for its first residence. I'm quite pleased with how this has come out. It might be small, but it sure does look cozy. It's now time to set up that sea monkey tank I mentioned earlier. The process is quite straightforward. Firstly, we need to add in around 350 mils or 12 ounces of distilled water, which is conveniently marked with the water level fill line at the back of the tank. Next up, I need to pour in packets number 1 and 2, the water purifier and instant live sea monkey eggs. These packets mostly contain salts, which need to be dissolved by thoroughly stirring the water. The sea monkey eggs in here are absolutely tiny, but if you look up at the top, you can usually see a few of the small brown eggs floating at the surface. In each of those little cysts is a baby sea monkey patiently waiting to emerge. It's finally time now to transfer a few of those sea monkey eggs over into our TicTac aquarium. I'm going to try putting a few eggs in here, because even though this aquarium is absolutely tiny, it's still probably big enough for at least a few sea monkeys to reach adulthood, or at least I hope. I'm going to keep the TicTac box on this under-tank reptile heat pad for the next few weeks while the sea monkeys hatch and grow. This heat mat will keep their tank at a warm, stable temperature to provide optimal growing conditions. It shouldn't really take more than a day or two for the eggs to hatch, so I'll check back in with you soon for an update. Hey guys, It's been a little over 24 hours since we added in the first 2 packets, and I've just noticed the first sea monkey babies swimming around in the TicTac aquarium. They're really small when they first hatch, so it's best if we put them onto a glass slide so we can view them under the magnification of a microscope. I'm going to use a 150 times optical zoom so we can get a better look. You'll notice that they have a yellow colour to them. That's because baby brine shrimp are born with an egg yolk-like substance in their digestive tract, which they'll feed on for the first few days. Strangely, their rectum isn't fully developed at this stage, so it's still not necessary for me to give them any food quite yet. I also noticed that there's a couple other sea monkey babies still emerging from their eggs, so hopefully we see some more babies swimming around in the tank soon. Hey, so it's been another day, and I had a look in there this morning, and I can see a total of 4 babies in there now. I think 4 sea monkeys is probably the maximum I can grow in an aquarium this size, so this number should work fine. I'll check back in with you again in a few days when it's time to feed them for the first time. Today's day 6, and you can see that our baby sea monkeys have grown a lot. In fact, they've become teenagers now. It's time to feed them today too, which simply means using a small pipette to put some of the green microalgae into their little aquarium. I'll feed some to the sea monkeys in the larger tank too, because I'm sure they're also starting to get quite hungry now. These little green organisms will hopefully start to proliferate in the tank naturally, providing the growing sea monkeys with plenty of food and oxygen to help them reach adulthood. You might have noticed that they're also swimming a lot faster than they were a few days ago, and that's because they've grown thoracopods, 11 new pairs of legs which emerge from the thorax. They move them in a graceful wave-like motion to propel themselves through the water. Honestly, it can be a little hypnotic to watch. Right now they're still far too small for us to determine their sex though, so I'll check back in with you in another week when they're larger for the gender reveals. Hey guys, we're up to the 2-week mark now, and our sea monkeys have officially become adults, which means we can finally tell if they're males or females. They're actually too large for the microscope now, but I can still use a macro lens to get a closer look. The first 2 here are both males. You can tell because they're both quite stocky looking, and the clasping antennae on the front of their heads have enlarged dramatically. With the next 2, we have a mix of sexes. The one on the left is another male, and the one on the right is a female. You'll notice that her frontal antennae have remained small, but she's beginning to develop an egg sac at the top of her abdomen. This growth is quite exciting, because it shows that despite their aquarium being a TicTac box, they're still getting plenty of nutrients and exercise. They still have some growing to do though, so I'll check back in with you again when they've reached their full size. I think we're up to day 22 now, which means it's been a little over 3 weeks since our sea monkeys first hatched, and today I noticed something really exciting. The female has started mating with one of the 3 boys. The sea monkeys in the larger tank have been growing at a similar rate, and there are a few pairs mating in that tank now too. The males use their large grasping antenna to hold on to the females while they swim around together as a pair. You'll see that she's also beginning to develop a clutch of eggs in her brood sac. Now that they're so large, I notice that the mating sea monkeys occasionally get themselves caught in the aquarium decor, but thankfully they always manage to wriggle free. Now, female sea monkeys are capable of several forms of reproduction, depending on how comfortable they are in their environment. If water parameters aren't ideal, she'll lay her eggs encased in a protective brown corian coating as a cyst. These cysts usually need to be dried out and then rehydrated to hatch, just like we did at the beginning of this experiment. If environmental conditions are really good though, she'll live birth her young instead. I guess we'll have to wait and find out what happens in a few days. Hey guys, so I had a look in the TicTac aquarium this morning, and I have really good news, and a bit of a surprise too. The pregnant female has now given birth, and I'm pleased to say her babies are alive and swimming, which is a really great sign. Something a little peculiar though, is that we now also have another mating pair in the tank. The 2 bachelor males have decided to pair up, so it seems that even in the most extreme of environments, love still finds a way. Now, while it seems that this TicTac box is large enough for 4 sea monkeys to reach adulthood, it's definitely not going to be adequate for an entire family. So it's probably about time we transfer all of these guys from the TicTac aquarium into the larger sea monkey tank so they can meet their cousins. This is probably a bit of a shock for these sea monkeys. Their entire existence has been confined to that tiny TicTac box, so I'm sure they'll be happy to live out the rest of their lives in a proper sea monkey aquarium.